Welcome to Watch the Booker Man and to another of what I'm going to call a bonus episode, because we don't have a TNA show here, but I'm just going to look at the state of the company, and I feel like Slammiversary having been the previous night, it's the perfect time to do that. Now is the big build of the year to Bound for Glory, so let's look at how the company is as of the 1st of July 2011. And the first thing I'm going to do is just take a look at our titles. I feel like if anybody's maybe just jumping in here, this to me is a great time, if you've not watched the previous episodes, to join this story. We have a new Ring of Honor World Champion, AJ Styles defeating Austin Aries. We have the first ever TNA Evolve Champion crowned Desmond Wolfe, a great moment for him, and again it's something where you're getting in here at the very start. He won King of the Mountain, and I've got a lot of plans for the Evolve Championship as a floating level championship, so I think it's going to be a little bit different to how we've seen the other titles used, where I've very much kept them strictly, and it being a very special occasion when they're not on pay-per-view. If you look through the title defenses of many of these belts, they've only been defended off pay-per-view maybe once or twice, 3 times for that one, for example, and you'll see a very similar pattern for every single title. That's something I've been very keen to do, keep it so that title defenses you either have to pay for, or it's very, very special when they're on TV. Mickie James, of course, becoming a new champion as well, defeating Sarah Del Rey at the end of a very long reign. The Beautiful People retained their titles, as did Kurt Angle, who is now into 407 days as champion, 16 successful title defenses, but we do have that major storyline brewing with Bryan Danielson. We have new tag team champions, and again, if you look through the history since we started the save, that's something I did want to look through. We had Motor City Machine Guns, Beer Money, Motor City Machine Guns, the Kings of Wrestling. So 3 very, very solid established tag teams there, showing how strong our division is and how much these titles mean. And we are going in a little bit of a different direction, as you could say that Jeff Hardy and Sting are more 2 singles guys put together, but I think that being the exception in amongst all these very well established teams means that it does give us something a little bit different for the tag team division going into Bound for Glory. The X Division Championship still held by Tyler Black, but the storyline with him and Loki will surely be continuing. And again, we look at who has held the championship since the start of the save. Amazing Red, Kazarian, Strong, Lethal, Okada and Strong. I really think that the turn of 2011, when Strong won the title from Okada, his storyline with Tyler Black and Black winning the title, that's brought the X Division Championship up to the level that we want it at, and I think Tyler Black as a flag bearer of this division just shows that it is going in a very positive direction. It's been pretty straightforward with the World Heavyweight Championship, of course. AJ had it to start the save, Kurt took it in April and has not looked back. I know I've done this a bit back and forth, but again, I do want to look at how the championships have been protected. Sarita and Taylor Wilde, Awesome Kong and Hamada, Alyssa Flash and Mischief, Mickie James and Tara, and then the Beautiful People. So you could say we've not built up enough tag teams, and it's difficult, even in this mod, to find enough new female talent to bring in. I feel like we have done the best we can with this title. The Knockouts Championships had a couple of transitional reigns in there, but from ODB to Tara, Rain and Kong only making 1 defense isn't ideal, but it was to get the belt on Sarah Del Rey, who had that really good reign. Of course, we've not been in charge of the Ring of Honor World Championship, but we did do that switch at Slammiversary, which is going to spark major storyline implications. As you can probably tell already, this is going to be a little bit rambly, but now we're going to go into the creative meeting, and we look here at the franchise players, and it's a surprising couple of names maybe towards the bottom. Kurt Angle you'd expect, AJ Styles you'd expect, Anderson probably showing that I'm underutilising him. He's not even got an in-ring role at the minute really, but he is the number 2 franchise player based on, of course, his overness, but also his star quality, his charisma, all those things that I do feel we are using, with him being utilised by cutting promos more than actually wrestling. But of course, there has to be an end game with that. Chris Hero and Shelton Benjamin, perhaps the surprising names on there, but at the same time, given how good we've seen their performances be, and given just how talented they both are, it certainly feels justified to see them towards the top. I will go through the roster and see all our major stars, stardom below after this, but the next big things also shows a very bright future for this company. Matt Jackson outdoing his tag team partner and brother Nick Jackson, and of course he has huge potential. We all saw what all 5 of these guys went on to in their careers to know that this is a pretty accurate next big things screen. Roderick Strong, somebody who, it says there, he's unlikely to ever truly majorly draw. In fact, it does say that about everybody, but he's definitely got potential to be one of these very solid members of our roster who you can rely on to have a good match with pretty much everybody. Davey Richards, Jay Lethal and Tyler Black, all with huge potential, and it shows why it may be a bit of a slow build storyline we're doing with Jay Lethal now, because essentially I botched his initial push. That potential is there, and he will realise that in TNA, I am sure of it. In the hot prospects, we've got some of the similar names. Eddie Edwards replacing his partner, Davey Richards, and Rhett Titus. I didn't even realise that he's so young, 23. He's not doing that well at the minute, but when you look at him being younger than Matt Jackson, somebody who's considered a really young guy on this roster, it does give me hope that we can do something really good with him as well. And you can see by the ages of the guys that this whole young, hungry, aggressive movement, which was the foundation of this save in the first place, it's certainly something that is coming to fruition. A young, talented roster, and you can only imagine how much better these guys can be. They are nowhere near their prime at the minute. Moving into Talk the Talk, we've got Paul Heyman, of course, who I rely on as a crutch constantly whenever we need to make sure that the show ratings are good enough. Stick Paul Heyman out there in a promo and he'll do that. Kurt Angle likewise, but of course the show, the company, almost the whole story of the save has been built around Kurt Angle and who will be the person who grabs that torch from him and becomes the next champion. Mr. Anderson likewise, there's a reason we're utilising his entertainment skills so much. Jeff Hardy, maybe not somebody you'd place as one of the best promos, but his charisma, his presence, his popularity, there's no doubt that Jeff Hardy can connect with a crowd. And likewise for Sting, so much experience and so much goodwill with the audience that hopefully his victory with Jeff Hardy at Slammiversary doesn't upset people too much. Obviously the Kings of Wrestling had a great reign. They're a brilliant tag team who we have massive plans for, so hopefully nobody's too disheartened that they lose to a team that have basically only just come together. Where they and the rest of the New Age go next, I think we'll soon have forgotten about this defeat, but of course they will be coming for their rematch. The showstoppers again are quite unsurprising. AJ Styles at the top there. He is so good. The man who we were building the company around before Kurt Angle took that title from him. Look at the main event of Bound for Glory last year. Those two went out and put on, I'd say, the best match in TNA history. Maybe AJ, Christopher Daniels and Samoa Joe would have got a theoretical over 92. It did get 5 stars, I think, from Dave Meltzer, so maybe it's the second best match. Those two in that Iron Man match, the best match that we've done by some distance. Chris Hero, of course, has proved himself from the day he came into this company. It's great to see him as a major star and considered so highly so quickly. They've only been here, remember, 8-9 months. That shows not only has the New Age been booked really, really well, and they were mega pushed from the gates, really, weren't they? But it just shows how much talent they all have. Samoa Joe, perceived by the fans to be a star, and of course another guy who we have to find that direction for. He is a monster. He's somebody who has been booked as unbeatable in the past. Of course, he's had a little bit of a rocky 2011, but again, somebody who I have notes and notes for where he goes next. And Jeff Hardy, we've spoke about him previously. The Ring Generals, fairly similar. Davey Richards, Chris Hero, AJ Styles and Kurt Angle popping up. 4 great guys. But Bryan Danielson, his first appearance in any of these, somebody who I am behind, basically because he's one of my favourite wrestlers ever, certainly my favourite of the last 10 years, probably more than that, perceived by the fans as a star, and he's so great in the ring. We just have to continue to build his story, his sympathy, and his character, and I think that Slammiversary went a long way to hopefully getting the crowd behind him, but giving more depth to his character. I will say here actually that Bobby Lashley was scheduled to win the World Heavyweight Championship from Kurt Angle at Slammiversary, but it kind of never sat right with me. I wasn't sure if he was the right man. Initially, when Bryan Danielson came in October, I wanted him to become the next World Heavyweight Champion at Slammiversary, so it's fitting that with Bobby Lashley's departure, we kind of went back into that course. It was always a bit of a coin toss whether it be Bryan v Kurt Angle or Lashley v Kurt Angle or a 3-way. We ended up with a 3-way, and I think overall, rather than just going straight into Bryan beats everybody, then beats Kurt, this storyline that we're doing now is going to establish him even more in TNA, and perhaps he will be the one who can take the title from Kurt Angle. We'll of course find out in the coming weeks and months. The Who's Hot, I'm really happy to see actually, because it is our world champion in number 1, the Ring of Honor World Champion in number 2, the former Knockouts champion Sarah Del Rey, who has been booked so well, and it shows that losing at Slammiversary hasn't taken much from her, and she'll have no trouble re-establishing herself after that defeat. Mr. Anderson is quite a strange one. I'd argue he probably has neutral momentum at best, but obviously he was booked strongly prior to his little break from the ring, and his last match was at Lockdown against Kurt Angle, so he was in a main event position. Claudio Castagnoli in 5th, but I'd imagine there's not much difference between him, Hero and Black, but I'm glad to see that the probably lesser mentioned member of the New Age, Claudio Castagnoli, does have that momentum on his side with the fans. Who's not is Empty. Really happy with that. We have got quite a few people with cooled or chilly momentum. I can't remember which one it is, so I did expect some names on that, so quite impressed and happy and surprised with that. I'm not going to go through the storylines on this because, of course, after a pay-per-view, they will be rejigged, new ones started, old ones ended and things like that, but I'll have a quick look through the stables. I'll just flick through it. LAX, the Ring of Honor guys, Sweet and Sour, the Forefathers and the New Age. So quite a few stables put together in the company. I've got a long list of tag teams, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but it certainly shows how strong our tag team division is. A real big point of the save, I feel, was making sure that we built and established many teams throughout this save, and I'm just going to try and quickly go through this roster now. We'll look through the major stars. AJ, Bobby Lashley, who unfortunately has just 2 days remaining on his contract, so very disappointed with that, but we have worked around it and hopefully have managed to get Bryan Danielson over on his back. Chris Hero, Claudio Castagnoli, both as major stars. I love seeing that from people who weren't that over when they came into the company, and now look, they're in the 70s for their overness all over the United States. Very good to see. Kurt Angle, of course, the top dog, has that white hot momentum. Anderson also with white hot momentum, but somebody who we can definitely push on and do more with. Paul Heyman, of course, and Shelton Benjamin. Again, he's somebody who I feel we can do more with. Him and Charlie has his tag team. It's very one-sided with Benjamin being the top performer, the flashier guy, but I do feel like there's a lot of legs left in them as a tag team. We then go to the stars of the promotion. Bryan Danielson, like I said, he main evented last night, but we want him to reach that next level. Davey Richards, Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, Sting again should be by rights on that major star position, but the fact that throughout the save he's been used sporadically, I think he's had 4 matches, 2 wins, 2 losses, probably explains that. Tyler Black, likewise, white hot momentum, and he is on his way to major star. There could be no doubt about that. We of course have a list of well-known guys. I'm not going to go through that one-on-one, but I look at Roderick Strong, Kevin Steen as people who we want to push to that next level. I don't think Strong will ever be a major star, but it'd be nice to get him up there. Kevin Steen, somebody who I see unlimited potential in. We know how much of a good all-round game he has, and it's probably Knockouts out of this list that I'd most like to see up there. Mickie James has all the potential to become a star. Sarah Del Rey, I'm personally surprised she's not there already, and a lot of guys who there is work to do on, but being well known by the fans is certainly a good position to be in, and you can look through that list and see some of the strongest performers on our roster. Likewise recognisable, Alyssa Flash is somebody I'm interested in building up. Tara is somebody I'm interested in building up. Everybody here really, because of the talent in this roster. Again, Christopher Daniels, he should be at a higher level, but the way he's been booked, he's 40 years old, and we're using him largely to not get other people over, but it has happened that generally there is somebody in the front of the line to him. If it's him v Roderick Strong, we want Strong to be pushed because he's 13 years his senior, and I feel like we can get more out of him in the long term. That doesn't mean there isn't plenty more left for Daniels to do in TNA. We do have some who are unfortunately unimportant. I can't argue with any of them. There's some names in there that you'll see that you're probably surprised are even still with the company. Eric Young, not been used for a long time, and this is something I've done after Slammiversary. What gave me the idea to do this video was that I wrote down the entire roster into a document, and we've just been going through who am I not using right, who can we find something for, and you look at Eric Young's ability there, 77 psychology, he's good on the microphone, decent all round in the ring. We have to do more with the likes of Eric Young. He's got a semi-comedy gimmick at the minute, but I do have something that I think will see him gain some direction finally. That's the TNA roster. If there's anybody you want me to look at specifically, let me know, and I can always do that in another episode. Another thing I'm just going to quickly do before we end the video is look at the other promotions. For some reason I've gone straight to FCW. Kalen Croft, this is the future of WWE, remember. Kalen Croft as the FCW Florida heavyweight. The Usos still in developmental, which is very surprising to me. I'm sure they were very well established on WWE television by this point, so not sure how they're still down there. And Serena Deeb, somebody who I'm going to add to the shortlist actually. Oh, she's extended without me noticing. That's a shame. How she's got less than a year, so maybe this time in 2012 we will be seeing Serena Deeb join the company. Well then, I'm not going to look at Ring of Honor because I've got a couple of signings who I'm waiting to debut here in TNA that I've hidden away so as not to spoil it. New Japan Pro Wrestling, we'll have a look at the championships. I'm not going to look through the roster too much, but Tanahashi is the IWGP Heavyweight, Koji Kanemoto is the Junior Heavyweight, Takahashi and Naito with the Junior Tag Belts, Mystico and Takayama with the Tag Team titles. The New Japan Cup in 2010 wasn't run. No, was it run in 2011, so is that classed as inactive? But Jushin Thunder Liger won the G1 Climax. We'll then go straight into the champions for WWE because there may or may not be a news story that would spoil something for a future show. Kofi Kingston, the ECW champion. Interesting to see that title still ongoing. Christian had an incredible reign with that belt. John Cena, the World Heavyweight champion. Probably not that surprising, but when you look at who he won it from, Matt Hardy, who won it from R-Truth, that might be something that was a little bit unexpected. Sheamus, the WWE champion, for the second time. The Divas Championship is vacant, and so it's been vacant for over a year and a half, so they've got the Women's Championship still, so basically that's an inactive title, I assume. Dawson, Alec, that's David Otunga, innit? So David Otunga has got a good push to the Intercontinental Championship. Not sure why he's not going by his WWE name. John Morrison and The Miz with the tag belts. Michael McGillicuddy, I think he won it in around 2013, did he, as Curtis Axel? Obviously, he's getting the push a little bit earlier on. Melina, the 4-time champion, a very, very worthy title holder, somebody who is on my shortlist, but I'm not sure how long it's going to be until she's available. Goldust and Chris Masters with the World Tag Team titles. So some unsurprising, recognisable guys holding belts, but some that are definitely a little bit of a shock there. And finally, again, keen not to spoil anything, we are going to look at the top 100s from TNA. Big 2 pay-per-views and Final Resolution from last year are still top 3, so we've got a long way to topple them. I don't even think, be surprised if it's in the top 30, to be honest. Slammiversary, it wasn't that good of a show overall. Yeah, so 39th, very disappointing really. I do think overall the shows have improved. I can't even remember the best match on Slammiversary, and I don't think it's going to be anywhere near. I'm not going to go finding it, but plenty of huge matches, of course, with Kurt Angle. He is the best performer in the company without question. The top rated match not involving him, the Kings of Wrestling v AJ and Samoa Joe. That was a great match. Plenty of great matches in there. You can have a look through if you want. And then the attendances, not sure you can take too much of them other than that being outside of the impact zone is of course better for us overall. Buy rates are getting worse and worse. I've changed some of them to being TV, so I think in general more people are seeing the pay-per-views, but less of it through pay-per-view buy rates, which isn't ideal. But you can see there, Slammiversary just gone is our second most viewed pay-per-view after Final Resolution 2010, 100 top viewerships overall. The top 2 are in 2011, which I'm pleased about. Those tapings have evolved doing well. I never even realised that, but the idea now is of course to get these impacts now we're on MTV to be in our best viewed shows ever. I've gone on for quite a long time there, so I'm going to bring an end to the video now, but if there's anything anybody feels I've missed or they want me to look more in depth in, like I said, I'm happy to look through that on a future episode. Thank you for watching, and I really think that if you are not a regular viewer, this is a good time as any to join in. The build to Bound for Glory, it's 3 months away, but every single show should have something huge happening because we are taking this Ring of Honor TNA storyline to the next level, as we will with everything else on the roster. So I hope you join me for the next episode. If not, thank you for watching this, and I will be back with the next episode as soon as I can. Cheers.